Well, the one thing that I know overwhelmingly is that we'll kind of split up into three larger corners next time around and we'll have more room, okay? We got that one. But for the first time, I rather enjoyed the process. I thought it was very instructive. So, thank you. Who would like to start with your reporting back? Mr. Evans. It's on.
Hello. I'm going to run through the issues. Some folks want to come later.
Yeah, here it is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can we hear me now? Number of issues that are covered, we're covered, and I'm going to just list them out and talk with them. Some folks may want to come up later at the part where they can talk to the record about more specifics, but to try to get the discussion going. There were some general themes that came across, and then there's actually 2 specific questions. So I'm going to start with 2 specific questions, and then we're going to go to the general themes. First is a furniture issue having to do with the art yearbook and newspaper room. Wanting to know why there wasn't new furniture with that, as far as kind of an accumulation of older furniture. I'm kind of curious about that myself. From the bottom. The second issue has to do with, I think, something that the superintendent or the chair can speak to, but the timing of signature of the superintendent's contract. Timing issue, and why that is what it is.
You want me to answer that right now?
Sure.
Okay. There's been some talk kind of flying around about the superintendent's contract not being signed. It was ratified and approved, and jump in, Dr. Hunter, at any point in March when we do the superintendent's contract and the evaluation. At that time, he asked us to wait to negotiate any kind of financial package until all other negotiations were finished. And as everyone knows, we aren't quite finished yet. So the language is done, it's all been ratified. We actually have signed it, but we're just waiting on that one piece. So.
Good. That's what I thought, so I'm not a liar on that. There's pretty much a shared concern about an email that was sent out on 28 October that I'm sure we'll be talked about later, or I hope we'll be. There is consensus that the print shop is worth the effort and that we need to find a way to replace it, much similar to the motion I made last meeting. And then having to do with the 5-hour meeting for the next bargaining session, questions about if it's only 5 hours or if there's potential for extension beyond that. And
Okay.
I told him that I thought that we would be prepared to meet more times, and that wasn't a 5-hour or else sort of thing, but that was just my jogging my memory from discussion. And then the last one has to do with respect. And the teachers, and actually some people I haven't met yet that were standing behind the teachers, believing that that the administration doesn't respect the faculty. So those are the things that were brought up. I think I covered most of the issues. Oh, one last question having to do with more finance than anything else, having to do with $800,000 that a few people believe we have spent beyond the bond or wasn't properly accounted for in the bond.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Kathy, are you the next reporter?
I guess. Tracy's note, so I'll report on Tracy's note.
I was writing fast.
Actually, the 6 people we had, 5 of them really spoke to concerns about the contract, the settlement issues, time limit put on that, and the importance of really our getting to the table and staying at the table until, as one person said, do whatever it is that needs to be done to get this settled. So that's clearly something that's on many people's minds. And the other subject really has to do with the financial issues and whether or not we're able to have the financial transparency that we could have. Software problems seems to have been solved, that there's simply a staff time issue involved in being able to do that. A suggestion that, and it's always good for people to come with suggestions or solutions and not just concerns, so thank you. Possibly private money or volunteers could be utilized to help with that. And just as a side, several people indicated that things are very difficult to kind of find on our website. So I think that's okay.
We got a little more diverse, Mary, huh? There was a question about the audit, the motion that Paul made at last meeting about auditing the bond money. And the question was, could we clarify, is it just an audit of the process part of did the money get spent on what it was designed for, or is it also an audit of the financial? So we had a little conversation about the fact that the district is required by law to get an audit every year, and the auditors have been working on that, and that will be on the agenda in the December meeting. We will have results of the audit. And kind of asking for more information on what process does an auditor use when they're looking for the information. And then a question about the complaint procedure and the fact that a person had been attending board meetings and had been hearing some complaints but didn't feel like ever heard what happened to them. And again, Mary and I clarified that there's the policy KL and the complaint has to be written down and it has to be signed and so on and so forth. Then the next one was also about a memo that was sent out last week regarding negotiations, and the speaker felt that the district had crossed legal lines inappropriately. And then there was another question about bond funds and whether or not money had been used out of the general fund to pay for some bond projects, and had the district made loans to pay for some work around the district. And fortunately, Mary was standing there, Mary Canadian, she was able to help me answer that, yes, we did borrow some zero-interest bonds to take care of all the HVAC systems around the district. And so that was that one. And then a question about the bidding process. Excuse me just a moment. I usually have a pretty strong voice, but tonight it's getting a little too much. A question about the bidding process. For example, when we started out to remodel the high school, did we follow appropriate bidding procedures, and could an individual see the actual bids that we received, and how does that work? And I said I didn't know the answer to that information, but I would find out, and said I would be writing an email to Joseph and Mary tomorrow morning to say what's the answer to that one, and they'll be getting back to us. And then there was a concern about board members' discretion, and a previous board member asking a teacher a question that the teacher was uncomfortable about. And the last one was an expression of concern about the negotiations, and the teachers were working without contracts, and an expression of hope that we will get back to the table and get things taken care of. So that was pretty similar to everybody else's. Okay?
Chair, I had a question on that.
Yes, sir.
On the complaint piece, there was one of the people that came up to the table was actually looking for the complaint forms. He could not find one.
Okay, they may be all gone. We had a number of times. Oh, I just realized what I just said. Happy days in our house. Yeah, there's policy on the website.
One of the people that we talked to also said that what might be helpful is when they look for that policy about the complaint procedure on the website, maybe the complaint form would be included right there so they could print it off.
And I know that somebody gave us a suggestion about, instead of putting those comment cards all on one table, but to put a few at each table. So we'll try to do that at the next meeting.
As well as copies of the agenda, so there's no